Welcome back to Long Delays Hobbies. Today I'm going to be showing you how I painted up Gothmog, the Lieutenant of Sauron. This is the new plastic Gothmog that came out in the Osgiliath box. I think it has a lot more detail and it holds up a lot better than the old Finecast versions of this miniature. And it really makes just a great, nice thematic addition to any Mordor army. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So to paint up the various metallic parts of the model, I use Vallejo gunmetal. So that's going to include the scale metal, the head of the mace, the shield, and any other little metallic bits you can find. A large portion of Gothmog is in silver, so you're going to do a whole lot of work just with this one paint. If you don't have Vallejo gunmetal, you can use lead belcher or any other silver paint that you have just laying around. Gothmog's pants and undershirt are red, and to paint those up I use Mephiston Red. I did use the air paint variety just because it means I don't have to thin down my paints. I can just use them straight out of the pot. So I used about 3 layers of Mephiston Red air paint to knock out those pants and that undershirt. And to paint up Gothmog's pale orky flesh, I use Rakarth flesh. We're going to be going over this a bit later with some other colors, but Rakarth flesh is a good place to start. And don't forget when you're painting up his flesh that he's got like an exposed shoulder. Now, Gothmog has a fur cloak on his back, so to paint that up I used Gray Seer. He also has a little tuft of hair on the back of his head. I used Gray Seer for that as well. And to paint the mace handle I used Dryad Bark. And to paint his tunic I used Abaddon Black. There are a few little bits of leather on Gothmog. The biggest one is his belt, but he's also got some greave straps. So just go through and pick those out with Rhinox hide. And now that he's base coated, I just went and washed the entire miniature with Nuln Oil. Yeah, I really wanted Gothmog to have kind of a dirty, grimy vibe, which is why I didn't use any other washes here. I wanted some bits of the silver to stand out just a little bit more after they were washed in Nuln Oil, so I used Army Painter Plate Mail Metal to go through and just give like a really light dry brush. I just went left to right with the Plate Mail Metal and get a little bit of brightness back. I didn't really do a traditional highlight here. You could use something like Stormhost Silver from Citadel if you want to accomplish a similar effect with a similar color. And to highlight the red cloth, I used Evil Sun's Scarlet. I just went into all the different folds throughout his pants and his undershirt, and we just went and picked those out. Just went all around the miniature and picked a few of those out. They were very easy to find, and this miniature takes very well the highlights I found. Now, after that Nuln Oil wash, I found that his head was a little bit too dark, so I used Pallid Witch Flesh to get some of that brightness back in. I went and picked out the highlights and I painted up like his big bald head and so forth. Just looking, he has like lesions and stuff on the left side of his face, so I went and picked those out, but also trying to keep the wash in the recesses. So a little bit of a tricky balance. Games Workshop doesn't really make a color that corresponds exactly to his skin color, so you kind of have to go back and forth with washes and paints to try to get that color right. And to do that, I use Reikland Flesh Shade to kind of, I think, get that color down a little bit to where the brightness should be. And to highlight the black cloak, I used Eshin Gray. I wanted the black to stand out just a little bit more because I felt like it was getting lost in between all the other colors of the miniature. And next up, we need to highlight the leather straps. So to do that, we used Doombull Brown. And the final step is going to be just painting some wood grain on that wood handle to give it a little bit more realism. So to do that, I used Gorthor Brown. And I used just a very small brush and took my time. I had to go back and correct a few mistakes, but the overall effect was to give the mace handle, like I said, a little bit more realism. And with a little bit of scenic grass and tufts applied, Gothmog is now ready to go to the Pelennor. So the most challenging part of painting Gothmog is painting his skin color and getting that right. Otherwise, it's not too challenging of a model to do. It's something you could probably work on alongside your orcs if you're painting up a Mordor army, or just a nice little project you can work on as a breather. But thank you very much for watching this How I Painted video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And as I always like to say, don't forget to have a great day. Take care.